Looking across the vista at Carver or most any of Three Rivers Parks, visitors can sense something different in the landscape, though they can't quite say exactly what it is. At the Crow Hassan Nursery, where native plant propagators toil in anonymity, they think they can solve that mystery the casual park user may not see.
The district nursery here at Crow Hassan Park is able to provide native plant materials from locally collected seed sources, of which to us is very, very important.
Under a blanket of snow, while the frost is still thick, spring is already taking root at the nursery.
Well, it's the beginning of the season. Spring begins early in the greenhouse.
From late February into March and April, these greenhouses turn into an incubator of native plants. Everything from trees and shrubs to prairie plants and grasses. Flowers and berries transform these tables from a cold winter slate gray to an explosion of green.
This greenhouse will be filled. It'll be filled with plant material such as birch trees and forbs, wildflowers, wall to wall. Some will be on the floor. We have a window of opportunity for each of these species as we go along. Again, our list is very diverse. We have a lot of plant material to deal with before freeze up. Every week we take on new species as we're just putting aside others.
The Park District Nursery at Crow Hassan is a year-round operation. In a good year, they'll plant or transplant 50 to 80,000 trees and many more thousands of Minnesota native plants.
Well, all the stuff that we grow in here is native grown to this area, probably a 50-mile radius of this area we collect seed from. So, and if we didn't do that, just the general reforestation in the park, if left on its own, you'd get a lot more box elder, buckthorn, exotic stuff growing in Siberian elm, where we can put back what was naturally here 150 years ago or 200 years ago, and we can kind of help to set it up to where it was.
The nursery churns out trees and plant materials to canvas parks, trails, formal gardens, and landscapes. In recent years, they've added rain gardens to their arsenal, using native plants with their deep roots to better treat storm runoff naturally. To accomplish that, it takes a team effort with leadership from their staff of expert propagators, along with a staff of seasonals, work crews from the Minnesota Conservation Corps, and sentenced to serve inmate crews, among other work groups getting dirt under their nails.
I'll carry a few of these out so they're not laying out here too long. I'll take that one out with.
Beyond the expertise and the obvious sunshine, soil, and water, the nursery thrives in no small part due to patience and a long-term commitment.
The trees that you see behind me here, we've collected some of the seed for those trees 18 years ago to get them to this point where they're at right now for transplanting out. So it is a long-term process to produce the plant materials, the native plant materials that we're using here.
A major project for nursery foresters right now is dealing with the emerald ash borer outbreak that reached the Twin Cities in 2009. Over the next few years, Three Rivers Parks will lose thousands of trees to the ash borer. So they're going on the offensive against the pest by cutting down ash and proactively transplanting other tree species. This tree replacement project will take up to 10 years. The seeds of these projects begin with, well, seeds. Collecting, cataloging, storing, and preparing the seeds is an enormous task that is happening continually from the spring thaw to the fall freeze. Some are as small as a grain of sand, while a butternut is hard to miss. Each seed has its own story, from those transported by the wind or water to others via animals' feet or bird droppings. And then there's the trembling aspen.
When we collect the aspen seed itself, it's at a stage where it's about to release and go out into the atmosphere.
When you see how delicate and unforgiving the aspen seed is to capture, germinate, and get to the soil, you may understand how trembling got attached to the aspen name. Aspen is one of the first seeds of spring, but the window when the seed pods can be harvested is short, as in hours, not days, which means watching the trees and the weather forecast and being ready to go.
We collect it at a particular time where it's just beginning to crack and open. We need to complete the seed by bringing it indoors and heating up the atmosphere so it continues to release. And it will release in the room if we get it warm enough.
By the next morning, that table is covered with nature's cotton candy, but yet they're still not ready to go.
The seed is within this cotton-like substance. And in order for the seed to be released onto the soil, we need to put the cotton and the seed down onto the soil and burn it off.
Why do you burn it off?
So the seed can set on the soil and germinate. If it stays on the cotton, it won't germinate. So I put it on the soil and spend a second or two separating it, burning the substance off, burning the cotton off, and leaving the seed on top of the soil. It's a beautiful seed.
How does this happen in nature? Do you know?
My belief is that aspen regenerates on the edge of a woodland area or in a disturbed site more readily than anywhere else. And when we used to have fires, natural fire, the fire would go through, and where the ground was disturbed, this substance would become burned off, and you would have the best generation in that area.
You can probably guess the next critical step in the process. Giving a helping hand to the propagation of aspens is a bit trickier than most species, but the professionals at Crow Hassan Nursery track and maintain dozens of trees and plants, shepherding them through the growth process until they're ready for delivery to a Three Rivers park near you.
I've worked in the private nursery field several times, and I feel that the taxpayers are getting one incredible deal here.
The ever-changing sign at McDonald's claims billions and billions served. Three Rivers Park's visitors can find a similar tally spelled out on tens of millions of native trees and plants, and the numbers are growing every day.